Well, we're going to get started, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. And by the way, happy St. Patty's Day to all of you. It is just so wonderful to be able to present this. There have been many a day where I thought this day would not actually come. We have gone through a hellish time, obviously, getting to this point, and we are still going through a time in our lives right now, in our country, and in the world for that matter. But we are slowly but surely seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And to be honest with you, there is no better way to make ourselves start feeling more hopeful by talking about this trip that we're planning for the spring of 2022. I know that a lot of you still have doubts and concerns about the safety and health of our children and of the status of the world and being able to travel. And obviously, there are too many questions to answer and not enough answers at this point to know truly what's going to happen. We can only predict and be hopeful at this point, and that's what I want to do. And things that I want you to be aware of that give me hope, sense of hope. I read an article just a few days ago that Italy has already said they plan to have their country at 80% vaccinated by September, the entire country. Which is an amazing statement to make. I know there's concerns right now that you see that they've gone on lockdown. I think a lot of that is preemptive in order to prevent people from coming down during Holy Week and for Easter at a time when things are still out and about with regards to this virus. But nevertheless, I am just very, very happy to have you all here. And I wanted to have some introductions first. So we have a couple of guests that you may not know. First, to someone that some of you may know and others may not, our administrative liaison, one of the principals at Council Rock High School South, and she's the music liaison. Miss Sue Gormley is here this evening, and she's waving for those of you who can't see her right now. And she will be here to answer any administrative questions that you may have. And then we have two other guests that many of you do not know unless you've gone on trips in the past with orchestra or band. And they are two representatives from KI, which is the tour company that we are going to be using. On my call, to my right is Oliver Schofield, and to my left is Susan Kendall. They are two representatives who will be here this evening to answer your questions about the trip. And the way we're going to handle things tonight is I'm going to jump right in and just do a Q&A, give you as much information as possible that you can start digesting. And I do have one of my officers here, one of my senior officers, Emma Clopton, is actually going to be monitoring the chat while I am presenting. So I'm going to ask you all that if you have any questions, and she put this in the chat already, please enter them in the chat. And that's the way we're going to be handling questions instead of trying to ask someone to unmute and ask questions that way. Just take your time, put it in the chat, and as we're going, we will refer to your questions in the chat and do our best to answer them. And if we don't have an answer tonight, we'll certainly hopefully find one for you in the coming days as we go. So first off, what I'm going to do with you all right now is I'm going to share with you my screen, and I'm going to be showing you what I've put together for you guys. I have actually created just a small website that I will be sharing the link with you all, and which I'm going to do right now. So first off, you can see hopefully you all can see, and I'm sharing properly my screen. This is the Italy choir page that I've made for South Choirs. And right now in the chat, I'm going to put the link to this so that if you want to refer to it at any time, please do so. So the link to the web page is in the chat. And it's basically just a generic, just really simple, just kind of talking about what we're going to be doing. We're performing a performance tour, April 7th to 14th of 2022. And it's going to include 3 nights in Rome and 3 nights on the Amalfi Coast, with highlights including Sorrento, Pompeii, Salerno, a hike up at the top of Mount Vesuvius, beach time in Amalfi, and of course, a full tour of Rome. And in addition, we have been specially invited, thanks to KI, by the Vatican to perform at St. Peter's Basilica, which is the Vatican. And it is going to be during Holy Week, which if I am not mistaken, will be the first time since the COVID outbreak that it will be open. And so, as you can imagine, it may be a very popular destination at that time period. We may be getting considerable crowds to be watching us for our performances, which is very exciting. And as I go further down here, The announcement letter, which most of you have already received, there's no reason for me to show that to you right now, but if you'd like to, you can always take a look at that. Most of the information you're going to get is from this detailed Q&A, which I'm going to open up right now, and I'm going to share with you all and kind of go through all of these questions. And as I go through them, I'll go through them slowly. And as I said, I will be referencing the chat as we go to see if any of you have questions. So where are we going? Well, of course, we're going to Italy. Woo woo! And we are going April 7th to the 14th in 2022. And how will this impact missing school? Well, you're going to be missing 4 days of school before Easter. We basically are going to be getting our luggage and coming down on that Thursday before Palm Sunday, leaving sometime in the afternoon on that Thursday to have an overseas overnight flight to go get into Rome. Missing all the day on Friday, and then the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are school days beyond that. So it's more like 4.5, to be honest with you, more like 4.5 days, not exactly 5, or not exactly 4. I will say that one of the things I'm a little excited about is that we were originally planning to go at the end of this month and the beginning of April during Passover, which would have been amazing to have a Passover Seder over there. But I will tell you that Passover does not coincide with our trip this time around. And so because of that, those of you who keep kosher for Passover, you can eat pasta while we're in Italy, because we will be returning even before Passover. So that is a wonderful thing. Of course, if you have a wheat allergy, I'm so sorry. But indeed, it will not be coinciding with Easter or with Passover at that time. We will talk a little more about religious implications as we go. So who is going? Well, all of our choirs are invited to attend. And we have 5 choirs, chorale, symphonic choir. Those are our 2 curricular groups, the ones that meet during the day that are for classes. And then we have 3 extracurricular groups, bel canto, and we have Rockefellers, and we have South Vocal Ensemble. And all groups will be performing at some point during the trip in either different venues or all in the same venue. It all depends. And right now, performance venues are a little bit up in the air still as we're trying to finalize things. Excuse me. Are parents and siblings invited to the trip? Absolutely. Parents and siblings who wish to go on will be going on what we'll call a parallel trip, but really you are going with us, that our tour company is putting together. So what that means is, yes, we're all traveling together, we're all on the same buses, we're on the same flights, but let's say we have a situation where we have a student exchange or we have a rehearsal time in a venue that the students need to go to. There's no reason to have parents and siblings attend that. So KI would provide you an alternate experience while that is taking place. And believe me, it makes things a lot better for you guys. You get a good chance to go off, parents and siblings, and see other things while we're in rehearsal and such. And of course, students, don't think like you're missing out. You're not. We're going to give you every opportunity to see as much as you possibly can when we are in Italy. The approximate cost, we're saying approximate right now because that is subject to several things. One in particular would be regarding fundraising. And actually, there's a question that has just come up with regards to money, which I'm going to take a look at right now in the chat. We had some individuals, and so here that says we paid deposits for 1 student and 3 family members last year. 1 family member who paid the deposit can no longer go, but I would like to take his place. Can I use that to apply his deposit towards mine? I imagine so. That's a situation that the money is, that deposit is being held with the choir parents account. It's just a matter of just changing the name of that person and then moving it over to the new person. So that shouldn't seem to be a problem. So I don't think that would be an issue with regards to that. Thank you, Emma, for keeping me on top of the chat. I was mentioning about the cost. The other factor involved would be if you are a parent that wants to travel and have their own room, there is an upcharge for that. And that detail is included later on in the packet you're going to get. So what's included in this price? Well, you get, of course, all transportation, airfare, busing, and tour busing. So that would be like busing from school and over to the airport. And then, of course, all the tour busing and, of course, the airfare. We are staying 7 nights. You will have all breakfasts and dinners included. All entrance to any of our group excursions is excluded, and all taxes and tips as well, which is a very big deal. We do have a discussion that's going to be coming up this evening with regards to insurance. And so obviously with what's happened with COVID and insurance companies in general, there have been a lot of changes made. And so we will go through that in detail. But basically what happens is there is a student protection plan for what's called post-departure services. And that would mean if something should happen when you're over in Italy, the lost luggage or something along those lines. And all that is included in information on the website, which we will get to a little bit later. So we will get to that later. What is not included is this thing which we call CFAR, which is cancel for any reason insurance. And what that is something that is an extra cost that we are highly recommending that you do purchase. Emma tells me that there's another question here. If a family member cannot go after this year's initial deposit, can that be refunded or applied to the student's fee? Yes, it can be. I think with regards to deposit information, one of the best things for you to do, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking for Maureen Wasadi or Megan Idell, two of our choir parents, they are our choir parent president and our treasurer. We'll be happy to accommodate you for that. And if I could right now, Megan, are you on this call? Could you unmute just for a second? I'm not sure if I'm seeing you.
I'm right here.
Okay, Megan, is it okay if I give your email address in the chat if they have a question about deposits?
Yes.
Okay, and could you give it to me real quick?
Sure. It's my name, Megan Idell at yahoo.com.
M-E-G-A-N.
M-E-G-A-N. No,
I-D-E-A-L. Sorry,
No, I-D-E-L-L.
at yahoo.com.
Yes.
Okay, so the email I just sent is for Megan Idell, and she is our treasurer. And if you have questions about deposits from last year, you want to figure out how to transfer funds or how to deal with a potential refund of a member that's no longer going on the trip, you may do so from that method. Okay. We were talking about cancel for any reason insurance. This is what we're highly recommending that you guys get this. And KI has provided some great detail about that, which once again is in that website link that I gave you. And it details exactly what's covered in that. I need to let you guys know that specifically that cancel for any reason trip insurance that we're going to be giving you, or not giving you a link for, is specifically for our student group. And just to be very specific on this, again, insurance companies are very wary these days with what's happened since COVID. And so they are allowing our student group to get a group rate. However, if we have a significant number of parents that are going to be traveling on this trip, we're going to provide you a link to get trip insurance, but unfortunately you will not be able to get that same student discount because you are adults. It's a different situation, a way insurance is handling the adult price versus student prices. And we can give you more details about that as we go. So Megan, I'm sorry, not Megan, Emma, you have said to me that-
Could I pause you? Yeah, your texts in the chat are not coming through.
Are not coming through. Interesting. Okay, one second here.
So if you need me to send anything, I can.
Yeah, hold on, let me try this again. And you're saying that's not coming through, Megan Idell, yahoo.com?
No, nothing on your end.
Okay. Would you mind just typing that in for me?
Yep, I think I got it down. I put it down real quick. I just want to make sure I spelled Megan correctly. I don't know if it's
MEGANIDELL at yahoo.com.
Got
And
it.
if you're not getting, and you're also not getting the link then to the website. So what I'm going to do right now is this. Emma, and thank you for jumping in here. Emma, I'm going to send you the link via email right now, and you're going to get this link. And if you wouldn't mind just putting it into the chat, that would be great.
No problem.
I'm sending it to your Gmail right now. Okay.
No problem.
Great. Here it goes. All right. And thank you everyone for being patient through this process. Yay, technology. Okay. Okay. How do we pay? Well, we pay in monthly installments, and they're called benchmarks. So basically, in order so that you're not trying to put out a huge chunk of change all up front, we're trying to help you guys out by spreading out that cost over a period of months. With the first one being, yeah, right down the road next week. March 23rd, 2021. And we're asking for an amount of $450 per traveler. Please note that travelers that paid the initial $100 payment last year would only need to pay $350. So I'll say that again. If you paid $100 last year because you were planning to go on this trip this year, you have the ability to take that $100 and put that towards your first payment. So you'd only need to pay $350 per traveler. That's only if you paid the $100 last year and you had not gotten it refunded. Okay. I know a lot of you are going to be asking about fundraising, and we do have a number of fundraising opportunities for this trip. We will go through that information a little bit later after our tour company representatives have to leave because they have a limited time here with us. Once you sign up for the trip, you pay for your first deposit. This is all about purchasing your trip insurance. Once you pay that first deposit, we will send you a link that you will basically have to fill it out online, and it gives all the information. It's a direct link that's sponsored through KI, and it's relatively easy. I just went through the process. You just have just a little bit of information you put in, and it will tell you what your payment is. So we are not collecting money for trip insurance. It's being done through a separate company that is working in conjunction with KI, just to make sure you understand that. Okay, good. Okay, so how much money should we bring? We'll determine that at a later date. And really that's all going to depend about the economy at the time in Italy, and we'll give you a better idea about that as we get closer to the trip. So the excursions, well, you can see here, we have a lot of excursions that are taking place. Roman Coliseum, Roman Forum, Vatican City, the Sistine Chapel, this is endless, the Pantheon, St. Peter's Basilica. We're going to be touring the Amalfi Coast, and I can say that there will be beach time. That's not possible. It's going to happen. Touring Pompeii, it's unbelievable. Possible, that's not going to be a possible hike. It's going to be a hike up Mount Vesuvius. It's on my bucket list. I cannot wait. We originally wanted to do an Island of Capri, possible Blue Grotto tour. Unfortunately, our trip did not allow us to do that because we just didn't have enough time. So sadly, I do have to take that off of our itinerary. I know that's a big sad face for some of you who were looking forward to that, but we just don't have that in our time period at this point to be able to do that. We just don't have enough time. You'll obviously need to bring your passport. This is for not just students, but everyone. We need to bring their passport. We'll give you more information about this. Susan, this is the time that I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to unmute for a minute. Can you talk to everyone about this new process that's going to be taking place with regards to uploading passport files and stuff?
Yep, we have a new online registration system, and it's just, you'll be going in, just giving your name, your birth date, and you can upload your passport directly to us. And it'll be very easy. I'll be walking Corey through it all, and so he can provide everyone with that information. But it's that easy. Each passport, though, needs to be valid for 6 months beyond the return travel date. And that's very important for those who already have passports, that they make sure they have at least 6 months validity left on that. So.
Good. Also, just got another message here that those of you who are on an email list, Mr. Wright, Bob Wright, is someone that you may be getting emails from. He's one of our secretary, corresponding secretary, and we'll be sending out fundraising information that way as well. And we will get you hooked up on that list, so no worries there. We'll talk about how to get you set up with that information. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to stay on top of things as we're going. Good. Student ID, uniforms. We'll talk about how you fit a uniform into your luggage. If you're soprano or alto and you're wearing a choir dress or a skirt, those things never wrinkle. It's pure polyester, no problem. It's more for the tenors and basses that would wear tuxedos. And I do have a really cool method of how you actually pack it in your suitcase. So that comes later. What else do we need to do prior to the trip? Well, you're going to fill out lots of forms, some of which will be online, others will be paper. Things like medical forms and behavior contracts and rooming lists and busing lists, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. This part here about making a photocopy of your passport, as Susan has already mentioned, will be done online. So that does solve the issue of the old days having a passport night where everyone would come and bring their passport, and we would grab a big box and make photocopies of it. It was always a chaotic night. So that really kind of solves our issue with that. And that really makes me a much happier person. One piece of luggage and one carry-on. Right now, that's what the current restrictions are. And we will actually weigh your luggage when you get there on the first day to make sure that you're not overweight. Your luggage is not overweight, my apologies, so that you don't incur any kind of a charge. So that's really important you understand that. So we will make sure that your luggage stays under, I believe 50 pounds is the maximum weight, or you would have to pay a charge. We will be giving you means of exchanging currency at a later time and talk about how we go through that. At the time when I made this up from last year, I said the Amalfi Coast would range from the 50s and the 60s, while Rome would be from the 40s and the 50s. It would be more like the 60s for the Amalfi Coast and more like the 50s for Rome, because we're going to be traveling just a little bit later. We're traveling in April instead of in March, and so that is helpful. But we are going to suggest that you dress in layers and bring things like a light sweatshirt and a light sweater or a jacket and that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about all the merch later on when we get into the nitty-gritty fun stuff, but not for tonight. So, of course, the big question, will there be COVID restrictions on this trip? To be honest with you, I have no idea at this time. I can tell you right now, the Florida trip that's being planned for this coming spring, yes, there will be many COVID restrictions and people will be in masks the entire time for that trip, but we don't know what things are going to look like come next spring. And we're being very hopeful that we will not have to be in that situation. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. We're going to do everything we can in our power to make sure that everyone on this trip will be safe at all times. You can ask any of my students that are currently in choir with me. I make sure my students are 6 feet apart at all times. We're always wearing masks. We try to do outdoor rehearsals if possible. We limit our rehearsing time to 30 minutes, and then we take breaks to allow the air to circulate. I'm a big stickler on following the science and making sure we're staying safe. But if we start seeing restrictions being lifted and the CDC says, hey, you know, we don't have to wear a mask anymore, or a mask is optional, or, you know, we will let you know. And obviously that will be something that we will be talking about in the future. Yes, a nurse will be traveling with us as they have in the past. And if you do have medical concerns, we will make sure that they are forwarded to the nurse to make sure that they are aware of anything that would be concerning as far as maybe special medications and such. I'm going to take a moment to stop here and look at this chat and see if there's things that I need to worry about. Yes, someone was talking here about, recently read about vaccination passports that may be likely to be required for international travel. This has not been discussed yet. Oliver, do you want to talk about vaccination passports at all? Has that been discussed at all?
Hello, everybody. I'm Oliver. First of all, thank you. What an extraordinary community you are to have 81 participants now on this Zoom. Council Rock is a very, very special place, and I'm thrilled that we're looking after the choir this time. We've dealt with Chris Simon in the orchestra and John Burns in the band. In fact, Sue, today we might have been somewhere else had things been different on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
And the last tour, the second last tour we ran last year before the big close down was Council Rock North Choir. So you guys are really very, very special to us, and we love working with you. So thank you, Mr. Axel. Thanks, Ms. Gormley. The question specific to COVID vaccinations. So there is discussion within the travel industry about, but basically, if you try to go now as a group, there are restrictions precluding Americans going as a group into the Schengen region of Europe, which Italy is a part of. We know that will be lifted. We know the economic imperative is really clear from Europe, and we know that they're watching quite jealously now the way that America is handling the vaccination rollout. So we know that barrier, I'm really confident that barrier will be lifted pretty soon. To the point of the vaccinations, there's the passport. By the way, when they say passport, it's not like a whole other passport. It's going to be, if it comes in, it'll be notification of vaccination. But what they're talking about is either or. If folk don't have that, then a test within 72 hours before to show you negative before you get on the plane. That's what they're talking about now. But we are so far ahead of the game, even with the slow rollout in Europe. And as Corey said, just this week, Italy's preemptively under the new administration brought up the levels of restriction quite high. We're pretty confident that we're not going in summer this year, which is very sensible. We're not going in winter this year, which is another huge travel time, obviously. We're sort of the third, you can't say third wave anymore, can you? We're the next one. I think this stuff will be really well sorted through by the time we get there. Does that help, Corey?
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So the other question was we're going to go back to our Q&A for a minute, with regards to dietary concerns. And we're going to do our best to accommodate dietary concerns. If you're vegetarian, kosher, diabetic, if you're celiacs, food allergies, that kind of thing. And what we'll do is we'll do our best to provide a list of those students with those concerns and get it compiled and have it sent to KI prior to the trip. But obviously, sometimes we may be in a situation where we may not have much of a choice. But like I said, if we know way ahead of time, we'll do our best to accommodate those with that situation. I can't say absolutely 100% guaranteed, but on various trips that I've gone in the past and I have run, we have been able to accommodate and talk to kitchens to make sure that could happen. Okay, so how do you choose your roommate, students? Well, the deal is, yes, it's 2 to a room for our students. And yes, you can choose your roommate. However, that could be at the discretion of the staff. And so if we find that there's going to be an issue that needs to be worked out, administration and I would talk it through and figure out what would need to be done in order to accommodate that adjustment. Having only 2 to a room means the rooms are going to, obviously the hotel rooms in Europe are smaller than what you may be used to in America. And so, which is why it's only 2 to a room. But to be honest with you, it also makes it that much safer from a health and safety standpoint. So to have 2 to a room is a good thing. I also do want to add that I know some parents had reached out to me and said, well, what if, my husband and wife are going and we want to bring a younger sibling to go along as well? Could we have a third person in the room? And the answer is yes, to an extent. We would need to know ahead of time if that's going to happen, and be advised. It may be a rollout, it may be a cot. It's not like there's going to be 3 beds in the room. So we just need to make sure that ahead of time that's going to take place. And so, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at a couple other things here. Yes, I did talk about parents. And for those of you who did come late, yes, parents are invited to go on this trip. And we can give you more details about that. And certainly you can check out in the chat the link to this information. And Emma, if you wouldn't mind, just once again, for those latecomers, could you please post that website link up again so that anybody who's late coming could actually just go up there and link on this? That gives you a lot of information that we're going through tonight. Thank you very much. There will be bus signups. Typically, airport buses are going to be alphabetical, or they will be based upon the flights that we're going to have. And yes, we will make sure that families are flying together. So, for example, we're not going to separate the parents from their child because you guys are the parents. No, we will make sure that families are staying together on the same flight if we have multiple flights. We may not, we don't know yet. We're too far out yet to determine how many flights we're going to have. Here's the deal. This is a relatively new thing. We'll deal with the question, Emma, in just 1 second. I see your question here. This is a relatively new thing as far as dealing with assigned seats. So you'll be asked to sit in an assigned seat. And sometimes the flight attendants will allow you to switch seats. We'll see what happens. We can't guarantee that. KI will do their best to block out our group in consecutive rows. But it's not like we're not chartering an entire plane. So you just need to be aware of that. But I can't make any guarantees. We will do our best to make sure that you were all going to be in the same block. So there was a question regarding hotels. I'm going to look in the chat. We'll be staying in, where are we staying, and what is the wake-up schedule? Well, wake-up schedule we'll talk about at a different time. So we will be staying in Rome, and we'll be staying somewhere on the Amalfi Coast. I don't know if it's been determined yet. I know, Oliver, you and I have talked about it. And we're certainly not going to let you guys, we're not going to divulge hotel information this far out yet because nothing has been set in stone yet. But we have been looking at a number of amazing hotel accommodations. And one is, can I say the town in the Amalfi Coast, Oliver? Or should I? Yeah, okay. It's in Salerno, correct?
Salerno.
Yeah. Salerno, which You'll get a chance to see later on. I've hidden the hotel, but I have actually a view from the hotel. You're basically right on the sea. It's unbelievable. You're right on the edge of the water. It's beautiful. It's magnificent.
Laurie, we're at the stage of being able to show you the hotels for you to choose, you and Sue. So we're at that point now.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. And then as far as a wake-up schedule, well, I can tell you right now, for students who are going to be traveling on this trip, and actually anybody traveling on this trip, this is not a leisurely kind of a vacation. It is very regimented, which is awesome because we basically, we pack a lot of information, a lot of stuff in these trips. So yeah, you're getting up early in the morning and you are going to be experiencing incredible things until you collapse at the end of the evening. And we do that on purpose that way so that, number one, you're seeing as much as you possibly can and you're experiencing as much as you can, but we also don't want to give you too much downtime. Historically, we have found that if there's too much downtime, sometimes kids can get themselves into trouble and get a little rammy, and we want to avoid that. So we're gonna pack it in with amazing things. And trust me, I've been going on these trips and I have been running these trips since 2001. So this is something that I'm used to, and I am very comfortable handling these large group trips. So do not worry about that. The flight's about 8 hours. I can give you more details about it as we go on later. You are given breakfast and dinner every day. Lunch will be on your own. We will certainly give you suggestions as far as where to eat, and we'll let you know ahead of time approximately how much money it's going to cost you for lunches. The concept of choosing your own meals, Oliver, I'm not sure if we can talk about that. Like especially for like dinners and such, but I know a lot of times breakfast tends to be like a buffet style, correct?
Yes, breakfast will always be buffet style. It will always have what they call American breakfast. The Italians make up stories as they go along. So their version of an American breakfast is all the fruits, the rolls, the juices, plus some eggs, plus some bacon or sausage or something. So that's their view of what an American breakfast is. Dinners will, occasionally we do hotel dinners, usually only on travel days. We don't love to do hotel dinners. If we do hotel dinners, they tend to be buffet as well. The other meals in restaurants are plated. You'll have the menu, you and Ms. Gormley will have the menu in advance, be able to approve it. And as you said before, you said it exactly right. We do everything we possibly can to cater for every single allergy. If there's some life-threatening ones, we treat them separately, and we'll talk with you carefully. But if they're more kind of convenience ones, then we can do them. We do good Italy in that respect.
A question just came up on the chat with regarding to the current state of Italy, and they are currently in a non-essential travel, and we are very much aware of that. And someone said, could we possibly push up your initial payment to May? Well, here's what I'm going to say to you about this. Basically, we're trying our best to get an idea how many students and how many parents are going to be traveling on this trip, so we can figure out our flights, figure out our hotel accommodations and such. And so we are asking that if you could to start this payment at this point. However, that being said, we're going to be giving a cutoff of when you can actually join this trip to be as late as July. And that's a very big deal, because I know some of you are like, well, I want to wait and see what's going to happen. And I respect that completely. I am feeling the same way. So kind of coinciding with what has been said to us with regards to by the time we hit to July, celebrating July 4th with families and such, that would be a really good indicator to see where we're at. That may give some of you at home, parents especially, a little bit of peace of mind to say, all right, I can wait a little bit. But just keep in mind that if you're going to do that, you're going to have to make up all those payments and pay all those by the July payment. So you're talking about a large chunk of change that you're going to have to be putting up at that time, which if you're okay with that, that's fine. I know that we have a number of individuals that are going to be doing a lot of fundraising to make sure that they're trying to, take care of their costs. So it's something you can think about, but I wanted you guys to be aware of that fully before we even go further. Even to talk about a smoking or vaping policy is bizarre, especially from a choir standpoint, but I just have to say it. This is for students who are not permitted to smoke or vape while on the school-sponsored trip. So please don't, and it's not good for your breath support, not good for your lungs. So please, I would urge you not to do that. Okay, so our drug and alcohol policy is very strict, and we need to make sure you guys understand the fact that if for any reason someone is caught consuming drugs or alcohol while on this trip, you're sent home immediately. Unfortunately, I've witnessed it twice in 20 years for it happening. And yes, basically, parents pay for a one-way trip back for their student to go get back home. And in some cases, also for a chaperone to accompany them on the way home as well. So you do not want to be taking the time when you're in Italy to making stupid decisions like that. And I hate to call it stupid, but we just need to make sure you guys understand that we don't want you guys making wrong choices when you're over there. And it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be wonderful, but you need to make sure that you're staying with the group. And yes, you'll have some time to explore things, but let's just not put ourselves in that situation, students. I think that's really important you understand that. So there's a question here about, do we need a separate check for each person? And I don't know the answer to that. Sorry, Megan, could you possibly answer that question? Do we need to have separate checks for, like, so if we have 3 family members attending, do they each need to bring their own check and send it to you?
No, it would actually be easier if it was all combined on one check.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have an electronic automated option at this time. We don't have that ability. Certainly we're not going to be using Venmo or anything like that. So what we are doing though, is we are providing a really safe way for you guys to have your check dropped off. We're going to be setting up, if you've ever been to our school before, we have this really big overhang at the front of our school. We will have drop-off hours where you won't even have to come into school. There'll be a box, and there'll be a choir parent or myself that will be there running it, and you can just drop it off. And if you would have a question or anything along those lines, you would be able to take care of it from that perspective. So we need to talk about the terrorism thing, and obviously, well, we'll get back to the cancellation thing. The cancellation, it goes in hand in hand with getting the upgraded cancel for any reason insurance, which we'll talk about. Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick. With combining checks for multiple people, if they can just make sure that the names for who the check is covering are clearly written on the check, like maybe a memo line.
The memo line, yeah.
Very clearly.
And if I could just add to that, Megan, I would say that if you're in a situation where the student has a different last name than you are, and you're both traveling, make sure that you're putting full name for each of the people going on this trip, so that we are aware, okay, this person is for this family. So make sure that that's very clear when you're writing out your checks for this. I happen to mention that I traveled the year of 9/11. It was a really crazy year, but we did it successfully. We traveled, stayed in the country, went to San Francisco that year. It was an amazing trip. But, we have learned a lot since then. And I even still talk about it 20 years later. It's important you guys need to understand that this is not a mandatory trip. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, you don't have to go on this trip. So whether it's for COVID or for terrorism or whatever reason, we're just providing this opportunity for you, and in the hopes that you are part of it. And I will tell you, like, it is the highlight of a student's 4 years there. So I feel sad even saying this, and Emma, who's a senior, did not have the opportunity to go on these trips because obviously it was canceled for her for this year. But it's something that people always talk about from years to come in that process. So definitely want to consider it. I know it's a nice amount of money that you're going to be putting into a trip, but they are all really amazing opportunities, and I want to make sure you're fully aware of it. Okay, a question just came up here to verify. Can you put in a deposit earlier for a student if family opts to join? There is a room. Okay, so what I believe you're asking is, you can put a deposit down now for a student, and then later on have a family member opt in. Yes, that is correct. You could do that. So just making sure I'm saying that right. There is the room to add them until July, recognizing the first payment will be larger. Yes, that is correct. Yes, good. Oh wait, let's see another question here. Okay, good. Very good. No problem. And then we're getting to the end here. So, you go on these trips, and students, you are ambassadors of Council Rock South. You are representing our school to the highest level. all you guys need to do, those of you students, you need to go on YouTube, go onto my YouTube channel and check out the videos from England and Wales, our last choir trip. We performed all over that country and we did some amazing things. And having the locals come up and just be unbelievably amazed at how respectful our students were, how professional they were, how musical they were. It's awesome. But you need to know that I take these trips very seriously. We have a ton of fun, but at the same time, I basically drill into your heads. We're representing Council Rock South. There is a reason why these videos go viral on YouTube, because, you know, I think the one video of us singing Somebody to Love is up to like, I don't know, 100,000 views or something. It's because we're that good and we represent ourselves really well when we leave the country. So be great ambassadors when you're there. And as I've already said to you before, making smart decisions is crucial. So please, if at any point in the trip, if you put yourself in a situation that you think is not going to be a good call, remove yourself from the situation or find a chaperone to help take care of the situation. Just be very careful, and as always, make smart decisions. That's really, really crucial. I'm just looking here. If we put a deposit for family members to attend and they decide they are not able to, okay. So this may be one more, we need to talk about the refund policy real quick. And so Oliver, this is probably the last question you're going to be able to answer for us. If we have someone that starts off and starts doing payments early on, and then over the summer decides, you know, I don't want to go on this trip anymore, what is the policy for cancellation at that point?
I'll let Susan leap in, but the first response we always have in that situation is if they can find a substitute, then we basically, they don't lose anything in that process. Otherwise, the cancellation is 75%, but presume they all have cancel for any reason insurance at that point, which would cover that as well. Susan, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, that the 75% refund would be given up to 120 days from KI, and then, yeah, so it depends on when they cancel.
Okay. And then we also have another question here. How much could this price change as we face less flight availability and hotel space? This is another one for you guys, KI.
Yeah, this is very helpful. And Ms. Gormley, I might need your brain power on this one too. I fully appreciate that folk are thinking about when they might want to commit. I think the school has made the school district has made a very clear and sensible decision about not touring this calendar year, that they've put this tour a year out from now, seeing the progression of the vaccination rollout here, and despite a little bit slower in Europe, by summer they will have made a big dent, summer this year. So I just want to say that in context. The other thing that you've done is, Ms. Gormley, I think you pushed back this presentation a month or two later than it normally would be for this very reason. We wanted to see the vaccination rollout, get a sense of confidence back in the community. I say all that because I was worried, Corey, when you were responding to the earlier question and talking about people signing up, for instance, in July, that will make it very difficult. And this person who asked the question, I suspect, knows a little bit about our end of the industry, because we will block a certain number of seats and then we'll hold just a few extra for those folk who might want to join later. So our advice would be that people do sign up now. If they're anxious about it, maybe we talk to you about you hold on the checks another couple of weeks or something rather than passing, whatever. We might finesse something between us. But I think if folk want to go, they probably need to make a commitment sort of based on what they can project from this point 12 months out. Is that a reasonable response, Sue?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, I think that's fine. I know that you are under certain limitations for having to secure seats on an airplane and those kinds of things. We did push things back, waiting to see what the global environment looked like, and we feel very confident that we're able to do this trip. So yeah, I think it is probably better if you're interested in doing this, please, you know, consider joining us and purchase the cancel for any reason insurance in the event that there is some situation that prevents us from going. when we get further along, there will be a letter that is from the superintendent regarding the possibility of having to cancel a trip due to a terrorism issue or to a COVID issue. And there are links in there that we will use to make those decisions. Obviously, many of you know that one of our musical groups was postponed twice and then finally canceled based on the world, what was going on in the world at the time. So, we obviously want our students to enjoy a great opportunity, but we also have to plan on in making sure everyone is safe. So that letter will be coming out as soon as I get it from Dr. Fraser's hands, and it really just tells you that we monitor terrorism based on the State Department, and as well as anything that the CDC might be presenting to us related to the COVID situation. Does that help everyone?
Yeah, I think so for now. Thank you. There's a lot of questions about the insurance, and I knew this was going to be coming up, which is no problem. We're going to talk about that right now. So what I'm going to do, and I think at this point, I know that Oliver and Susan have to go. What we will do is this. I'm going to allow Susan and Oliver to go, and if we have questions that we cannot answer at this time, the one thing that I see the question about not knowing, will the price change? We're going to do our best to make sure it doesn't change, and if it's going to be something that would be drastic, we're going to know further ahead than you think. And I know as I'm seeing some of these questions come up, I would say to you, if you're concerned about possible increases with regards to the price based upon flight availability and hotel space, then I would simply say to you, if these are concerns about the cost of the trip, you may want to consider not being a part of it. I don't want to make that decision for you, but we're doing the best we can under the situation to figure out we're in new territory here and everything is constantly changing. So I don't really have an answer for you for that one, but I do have an answer for you guys right now with regards to trip insurance. And I'm going to go back over to my main webpage, and I'm going to click down here, which you all can do. And once again, Emma, I'm sorry if you wouldn't mind, please putting in that link again to our website, so you can see what the package, what the cost is for the cancel for any reason insurance package. So you guys can check the chat right now, and that will give you these same links. I'm going to click on it right now, and this will give you information about what's covered. You can kind of see how this is taken care of. Trip cancellation, the cost of the trip, interruption. You can kind of see all this information as far as what's covered. And then the cost of this insurance is based upon what we are paying for the trip. So you can kind of see right now that we're going to fall into the category of $162 for our cancel for any reason insurance right here. All right, so because the cost of our trip falls between $3,500 and $4,000 per person. And I would like to just once again want to reiterate that this group rate that we're getting is specific to our students, because this is a student-centered trip, and this tour company is allowing us to get a wonderful group rate that would be pertaining to our students. So it will be a different cost if adults are going to be going on this trip and they're going to be trying to get this canceled for any reason insurance. And I don't know the answer to what it's going to cost for those individual adults. I do not know the answer to that. I can look into that and find out for you. The other thing to talk about, which is slightly confusing, and make sure you guys understand this is additional. So this would be an upcharge, which you're not paying us, the choir parents. You would pay directly to this Travel Insured International. All right, so be aware of that. And it's an online payment, and there's information on that, so you can check that out later on. But the other thing to talk about with regards to insurance is what is included in the insurance package, and that is what they call post-departure insurance. So again, this is included, and this is if something should happen once you're there, and you can kind of see if there's a trip interruption, let's say there's a air delay, or if something should happen, misconnection, baggage effects, all these are things that would take place, non-medical emergency evacuation. This is stuff that is included in the price for the students. And there's a lot of information. You can read through this And I, to be honest with you, you know, I've done my best to go through and get as much of the detail as I can, but I want to provide this for you guys ahead of time so you can see this. Emma is telling me there's another question in the chat. So let me just check it right now. Would siblings who are current CR students be covered under this one or the more expensive one? Siblings who are current CR students be covered under, that's a good question. I imagine if they are students and they are traveling, I can only imagine. I don't know. I haven't even seen to see if Oliver is still here or not.
Yes, I am, Corey.
Go ahead.
That's right. If they're under 35, they'll fit into the student cohort.
Okay, under the age of 35. Okay, thank you. So that's a good question to ask. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my web page here, and I think we're about to get more into like the fun stuff to talk about. So before I let Susan and Oliver go, is there anything that the two of you want to say before you guys get out of here?
Just me, I may have contributed to the misleading, the fact that the family asked that question again about, sorry for the repeat, how much could the price change? It's not our policy ever to change the price, and we've worked with the school now over a decade, and I don't think we've ever put the price up for anything. So that wasn't my intention to say. The way this would normally work, let's forget COVID for 30 seconds, is that Mr. Axler would say to us on March 23rd, I've got 112 deposits. So our air department would say block 120 seats or 125 seats at that price. That allows for extra people joining. It's no cost to the school. You don't even know we've done that. Where it gets difficult for us is if we block 125 and there's 150 you want to go, the 25 extra seats are likely to be $500–600 more. So that's the sort of calculation. So stepping back from that, if folk are paying March 23 and we have, within 10% tolerance, then there's no expectation whatsoever on our side. Availability will affect the pricing. We always price conservatively. We don't come back with changes. I hope I didn't mislead people earlier, Corey.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
Great.
And go ahead.
Susan, unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, I wanted to thank Corey and Sue for putting this all together. Awesome job, and I hope everyone can get to Italy. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you,
Great.
Susan, and thank you, Oliver.
And from my point of view, I know we have to deal now in this strange world we live in, all that difficult process stuff. And Ms. Gormley's reminding me that just 2-3 years ago, we all focused on terrorism. Seems like the good old days in a really weird sort of way. But what we always lose sight of, and I know Mr. Axler's about to take you back, is the magic and the excitement of opening your students' eyes to this whole other world. It helps them look back at America. It helps them mature. We make sure that there's exchanges and ways to engage with local people. They walk in history. Our tour managers, our tour guides are selected for their ability to communicate with teenagers primarily. So it's not dry, it's not boring. You see where the first Senate in the world is. You're actually seeing at the main altar of St. Peter's. You look out over about 1,000 people. Mr. Axler's right. It's going to be really busy at that time. It's Holy Week, so I can almost guarantee you there'll be 1,000 people listening to you sing that mass. So and Sorrento is beautiful. You'll be touching Italy in a way that will change you for life. So I just want to take you back to that, Mr. Axler, and leave you on that note.
Thank you, Oliver, and thank you, Susan, again. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Gormley.
Bye, Oliver. Bye, Susan.
Bye.
So there was a couple more questions here. The one was from a parent. Can you tell us the cost for adults before we have to make the first deposit? So it's the same. So parents, adults, you should know that, and I'm jumping ahead in my packet here. Parents and siblings of choir members, the cost is the same if you're going to be getting a double occupancy. So it would be that $450. But if you're getting your own room, you can see down here on my thing, there's an upcharge. I forget the exact amount, but whatever it is, it becomes out to $4,105. So we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to go into this packet, and then I'll allow the questions to start filling up again, and I'll get to them. So this packet again is found on the website, and so this is very similar to a packet I gave out to all of you. For those of you who were at the trip meeting last year. This, by the way, is a shot of the Amalfi Coast. We're going to be visiting here. This is one of the places, one of the most most photographed places in all of the world. And it's absolutely gorgeous. This is on the Amalfi Coast, and potentially we're going to be on that beach. So just kind of giving you an idea of one of the places we're going to be visiting. So this talks a little bit about, I'm not going to get into this, you can read this on your own, about where we begin, our journey flight to Rome, and then our first 3 nights will be spent in Sorrento area, Amalfi Coast, and all that stuff. And so this is when things get really, really, really good. Yes, oh, there's a question. Those of you who are going to be going on the trip, it's an open mass, and you will be able to hear us perform at the Vatican. There's no question. It's an open mass, and we will be, and it's open to the public. So yes, all of our performances will be open to the adults that are traveling on the trip as well, the family members traveling on the trip. So you will have the opportunity to see all that. There's no question about it. Okay, so we've kind of talked a lot about this before. You saw this in my Q&A, but this kind of reiterates it as far as what's included. We're going to skip all that. That is, of course, the Coliseum. We'll get to that information later. This is the schedule of the benchmark payments. So our first one is due on March 23rd, then April 27th, and so forth and so on. You can kind of see where they fall kind of in the third week of the month until we get to September, obviously, where it's the second week in September. And then, so you can see it's $450 for each of these, and then we have a remaining balance at the end. All of this is subject to whether or not you do any fundraising as well. Here are the details about the collecting of the payments. So it says here, initial deposit was collected. I mentioned that before. New payments, you're going to be dropping them off via check on Tuesday, March 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. under the overhang at the front of CR South. Any new trip participants who did not pay would have to pay the full payment of $450, as I've mentioned before, from 6 to 8 p.m. under the overhang. Please make checks payable made out to CPACRS. Stands for Choir Parent Association, Council Rock South. Subsequent payments will be dropped off in a similar fashion. We'll get to the questions about filming in a minute. Payments will be determined at a later date and communicated to all trip participants. Really, we've already determined those dates. You can see them there, June and July. If we need to have a different location as far as the drop-off goes, we'll let you know. But we're, outside of school, we should be okay with that. But if there's an issue, if there's a change, we'll of course let you know about that as time goes on. This talks a little bit more about the information regarding parents and siblings going on. If there's a third person going, there is a $100 less charge. So it's only 3450 instead of 3550, which of course is subject to availability. We mentioned that before as well. And then this goes into the full details of the itinerary. So this is where things get really cool and really fun. So I think what I'm going to do is this. I want to show this to you more in a more fun way via a Google slide presentation that I have for you. So before I do that though, I'd like to see if there's some other questions that I can answer in the chat. Okay, will the performance at the Mass be filmed? I'm going to look into that. First deposit is going to be due on March 23rd. That's in the packet here. Please be sure to check that out. Is there a registration form? What I'm going to do is this. We're going to start off by doing this. There is a form link that I'm going to give you in a moment. I'm going to do it towards the end of the meeting in the chat. It's a Google form for you to fill out. And you will, basically, it's something we just need to make sure that you're signed up for this information. I'm also going to give you something in the chat right now that I'd like you to put in if you have Remind. And it is the Remind code, which is CRST 2022. And I believe now you're finally seeing my chats, because I was instead trying to chat to people in a waiting room. So I apologize for that. But Emma, can you verify that you're seeing my chats finally coming through? So,
all good.
Thank you. So if you have Remind, and this is a really good app for those of you who don't have it yet, Remind is the way we communicate en masse. Please sign up for the choir trip Remind code. Remind is a free app, and it's the way I communicate everything about stuff, to remind everyone about whether it's rehearsals or performances, and in this case, think, hey, don't forget our first payment is going to be due, blah, 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 blah. Yes, Allie, it's an overnight flight, and we are planning to fly out of Philly, not Newark or New York. So we are planning to fly out of Philly. So just be aware of that. And I see people are starting to join my class code. Thank you so much. Wonderful, guys. Appreciate it. Let's jump right into the more fun version of this. You can read this on your own, but like I said, I do have prepared a really nice Google slide presentation to show you that will detail all of these things a little better. And hopefully you'll be able to see this, but here we go. So can you give me once this loads up, hopefully it loads up. There you go. Give me a thumbs up if you're able to see my presentation. Thank you. So here we go. Here's the performance tour of Italy, and we've already talked about the cost and when we're going. And this again talks about what's included. We've already mentioned that before. We will have tour escorts that will be with us the entire time on our buses and giving us tours of stuff that we're going through. So yes, and transportation is all included. Scheduled sightseeing and entrance fees are all taken care of. And multiple concerts and performances are all taken care of, as well as tips. We fly into Leonardo da Vinci International Airport. We will travel to Sorrento and then Salerno on the Amalfi Coast, Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii, Rome, and Vatican City. So those are our highlights. And this kind of shows you an overview of where in Italy we're going to be going. You can see towards the upper left, Rome is where we're going to be flying into, and a majority, we will not be seeing much at the start of that. We will fly into Rome and then travel down south towards the Amalfi Coast. This is kind of an overview. You can kind of see where things are in general. This is a closer look at where we are going to be in the Amalfi Coast. Kind of show you a couple things here. So Salerno, which is the far right, this is where our hotel will be. You can see it's right on the coast. This whole line that goes down here, this is the Amalfi Coast along here. And there are several little towns that go along. It's one of the most beautiful destinations. It's all mountainous. It's gorgeous. It's incredible. Sorrento is over here on the side. Pompeii is here. Mount Vesuvius is over here. Herculaneum is also over here, by the way, if you're wondering. So these are the destinations of the Amalfi area. And we've already seen some of these awesome pictures before, but this is one example of location in the Amalfi Coast. I believe this is Positano. Those of you who've been to Italy before, you may be able to confirm that, but I believe it's the small town of Positano. Positano, P-O-S-I-T-A-N-O. And Pompeii. And yes, it may look a little disturbing to see these pictures on the right. Those are not actual bodies. What you're seeing is actually when all the ash filled the entire area, they basically filled it with plaster because basically this is going to get a little graphic, but the bodies that were there disintegrated from what happened from the horrible incident that took place 79 AD, and they managed to create these figurines of what it looked like from that time period. The city is basically it's captured in time of what happened in August 79 AD, and you got to walk through the town and see where the chariot ruts are in the road, and you can see houses. It's amazing. It's incredible. This is Mount Vesuvius. It is dormant. If you're concerned, it is not an active volcano. And yes, we will be climbing to the top. It's not like we have to climb all the way to the top. The bus takes us most of the way, and then we just do a little bit at the very end, but it is going to be a hike. You're going to need to wear appropriate footwear, and and you get a chance to look directly inside the volcano. It's beautiful. It's amazing. As I said, this is on my bucket list, so I cannot wait. This is an orientation view of Rome. So to kind of give you an idea, the things that are squares, such as St. Peter's Basilica and the Pantheon and the Coliseum, we're planning to have performances either outside or inside those venues. So of course, St. Peter's Basilica is the Vatican, so we're going to be performing in the Vatican. The Pantheon is gorgeous, and we're going to be able to do we're going to call an informal performance inside the Pantheon, to do a performance outside the Coliseum. This is such an amazing opportunity for us. And yes, all of those you'll be able to film without a question. I will double check to see if Mass will be able to be filmed. I will let you know. I know some of you are wondering if you'll be able to get filming done of the Mass at the St. Peter's Basilica. And I'll let you know about that. I don't know for sure yet. And then the other locations that are circles are other places that we're visiting in the center of Rome, and Vatican City, which is over here. Vatican City is this green area over here. And of course, this is a Roman Coliseum. You all have seen amazing pictures of this before. This is one of our destinations, as well as the Roman Forum, and get a chance to walk through, again, what was like in 500 BC in Rome. Remus and Romulus, the founders of Rome, and the elections were, in public speeches and gladiator fights, and just all that stuff where Julius Caesar was cremated. It's pretty amazing stuff. Moving on, this is the Pantheon, which is beautiful and has the most amazing dome on the inside and an incredible acoustic. And so we are working in coordination to do a performance inside the Pantheon. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. Over 2,000 years old. I say possibly performed. I'm working on it. It's just a matter of just getting the finer details set up. Spanish Steps and Trevi Fountain. These are all iconic images of Rome. We will be visiting all of these locations and having many photo opportunities in them. Piazza Navona. So actually, believe it or not, in this shot of one of the most beautiful squares, if you look to the far left, that is a possible performance venue on the left, and you'll see a better shot of it coming up. I'll show it to you. But of course, the sculptures from Bernini and Borromini, and I mean, it's incredible. So you'll get a chance to see that church coming up in a moment. There it is. So this is St. Agnes of Agony, and we hopefully will once again have this as our performance venue for the coming year. It was set up to be done this year. We're hoping that will happen again. It'll be one of our formal performance venues. And yes, you'll be able to take footage in that one. And of course, the Vatican. We've all seen many pictures of the Vatican before. That's St. Peter's Square. And there's the Basilica that we're going to be performing in. And it is that big. And if you get an idea, the little tiny people at the bottom kind of give you an idea of how massive St. Peter's Basilica is. And that is where we're going to be performing. And to be specific, inside the Vatican, if you look at the very, very front, up at the front of the church is where we're going to be performing. This is not like we're just somewhere else inside the Vatican. We're going to be performing at the main altar. And of course, we'll be visiting the museum. And of course, along with the museum goes, yes, the Sistine Chapel, which is part of the Vatican Museum, which unfortunately you are not allowed to take photos or video of, and they are very, very strict about that. So they want to make sure that everything is kept intact and that no flash photography and nothing is going to damage it. And so you will have people inside the Sistine Chapel that will prevent you from actually filming there. So it is beautiful. You take it all in, do the best you can to remember it all, and then find some professional photos that were taken of it from other people. Okay, so this kind of ends that part, and I'm going to go into the chat now again and see what we've got going on here. Okay, if we signed up with paperwork last year, no, you do not have to do that again. If you're signed up, you're good to go. Will there be yes, there will be transportation to the airport. We will have buses that will be taking us from south to go directly to the airport. So anybody going on this trip, you will be able to be transported from school. That's included in the cost, as well as getting back from the airport when we return on the last day to get back to school. We will have transportation that will take us back there. There's a question about people being able to consume alcohol on the trip. So parents, you're able to consume alcohol on the trip. That is allowed, provided that it's not happening around our students. So that's one of the situations where Oliver would have said to you that when we have a situation where the students are doing an exchange or they are doing a rehearsal and such, a lot of times they'll say, okay, we're gonna take you to local bar, local pub if you want to, or an opportunity to go to an area that you would be able to drink some wine and what have you. I'll find out what the policy will be, and I don't know. Mrs. Gormley, were you on the trip, the last trip to Italy with the band when they went? Can you remember if you were on that trip?
No, but I can tell you when we were in Spain and when we were in England prior. So for adults who are joining us on the trip, there may be times when we're in the same restaurant together. I look at it as this is a time for you to have a vacation. You are, even though it's a parallel trip, I am not responsible for you. So you are welcome to engage in those kinds of things that kind of make your trip really fun. For you. The students, obviously, we do have a policy and they are not permitted to drink alcohol. I don't even know, I think that even the legal age in Italy is younger than what we have here. So regardless, it is a school-sponsored trip and all school rules apply. But certainly the adults are welcome to enjoy the trip as they would like to.
Awesome, thank you. I'm gonna briefly stop sharing my screen for a minute so I can pull up the link to the form that I'm referring to. This was a form that was filled out. Actually, it's easier if I do this for you. This is probably the better way to do this. Sorry, everyone. Let me go back to this. I'm going to go back to our website. There's the main form that you need to fill out. I'm going to show you right now. It's the trip contract. So if you don't do this online form thing and you're concerned about that, don't worry about that. It's all about the trip contract that we need to talk about more than anything. And here it is right here. Again, it's in that link on the website. Trip contract is down here. There are 2 copies, one for your records and one that you'll be turning in for your first payment. This basically goes through all the information about the payment schedule, about the mandatory trip meeting that we'll be having in February, about parents accompanying their children, that this is a student-centered trip. They should understand in advance that all decisions made prior to the trip and during the trip are to reflect the student's best interest. And so I need to say that, I'll say that a little bit slower. I've been on trips where sometimes parents have said to me, this doesn't feel like a vacation. And I would say, you're right, it's not a vacation, it's a student-centered performance tour. So please go into these trips understanding it's not going to be one of these very relaxing, I'm going to sit by the pool and sip some wine and enjoy the scenery. That's not really what this trip is about. It's about performing and giving amazing opportunities, but going at a relatively fast pace. And so, you know, I've had some parents on trips in the past say, well, you know, I didn't know that. So I'm letting you all know that now, and it's in writing as well. Please understand we're doing this for the students, but we are also allowing parents and siblings to attend as well so that they can be part of this experience. And it is a great experience for parents and siblings to go with as well. My trip to England, we had a number of parents that just had a wonderful time. And when they would meet back up with their student, if they had, let's say we were doing something else with regards to performing or rehearsing and the parents were off, and they would come back together for dinner and then talk about their day. And it's a really wonderful experience. It really is cool. So this is the form we really want you to fill out. And as you can see, you keep this one for your records, but then the second one is the one that you're going to turn in. So this is the form that you will turn in with your first payment. That would be for anybody going on the trip. And you can kind of see, okay, traveler's name, traveler's signature, and telephone number and such. So we would need to have this filled out for, Megan, you want to answer this question for me real quick? If we have multiple people traveling, do you want one form filled out for everyone or multiple forms for each traveler?
I believe last year, I would have to double check this, but I believe that they filled out one for each traveler.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say that if anything has changed, if any parent email, student email, telephone number, or if anybody has moved in the past year since we initially signed up, I would have them fill out a new form to update our information.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Mr. Axler, I'm sorry, Mr. Axler, before you continue, the last bullet point just above cancellation policies, the last sentence is referring to the marching band in Winter Guard.
Oh, yeah.
Probably may want to revise that and get that.
Yeah.
I apologize, I did not see that.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'll take that out right now.
Yeah, okay.
That's the magic of a Google document.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's gone. There you
Okay.
go. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, I'm going to go back to the chat here. I'm trying to figure out why I'm not seeing my chat. Hold on a second here. Okay. Why is this not coming up? Oh, let me just stop sharing this for a minute. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry, everyone. So the question once again is, if we did the form last year, do we need to do the form again? I'm going to say yes, and the only reason why I would say yes is because we have new payment dates, and I don't want you suddenly going, oh wait, my date is why, and you're looking at your old form from last year. To be on the safe side, everyone fill out a new form, just so that you are aware of the new benchmark dates, and you have it for your records, and that way everyone it's just going to make things a lot easier if we do it that way. So please do that. I would appreciate it. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I just want to make sure everyone understands this really quickly, that all of this information that I'm giving out to you guys tonight, it can all be found on the website, and I'm right now going to put it back in the chat. I don't know why I keep having to do this. One second, I'm sorry. It pops up at the very end. So once again, this is the link to the website that has all of these forms on it. And at any point you want information about stuff, it's all here. I've done my best to give you as much information as possible about the trip ahead of time, that you can have it in this form. And I've saved a few trees in the process by having everything online this way. And I know that this is only going to be the beginning for you to have a ton of questions about stuff. I know my students tomorrow in school are going to be asking me things like, okay, if I get up at 7 a.m., and we have to be up at, like, you're going to start asking very specific questions. Save those for when you're seeing me in school, whether it's virtual or in person. We can talk about it in class. But more of, if you have like other questions, like you're concerned about, your child has some medical concerns that and you're not sure how to handle those, stuff like that would be a more appropriate question to send me. Oh, and I may have put it in the wrong chat again, so sorry about that, everyone. Oh yeah, and thank you. I think I sent it to like one person privately instead of everyone. That's my bad. Here we go. Here's to everyone once again. I'm so bad with chat with Zoom. I apologize, everyone. You'd think by now I would have figured it out by now. I'm really good with everything else. Breakout rooms are fabulous, but when it comes to chat, I'm so bad at it. The last thing we're going to talk about before you guys go, and this is, I apologize, I know this has been a late evening, is fundraising. And I need to say this right now to everyone so you guys understand this. There's a fundraiser that we have been doing in the past. It's called Gertrude Hawk's Chocolates. My students love that fundraiser. It's wonderful. And unfortunately, we are just in need of a parent who is willing to volunteer to take over that fundraiser. And Maureen Wasadi, I see you on my meeting right now. Would you mind just talking briefly about what is involved in that process, Maureen? You'll have to unmute first.
Okay, hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's basically you place your order to Gertrude Hawk and they mail you everything to your house. That's how you receive the chocolate. So the way I handled it last year, I really made myself overly accessible to the kids because they were selling like hotcakes and I just wanted them to be able to raise all the money, but it became too much. If I continue to do it, which I have a lot going on, I really need someone to jump in. You can handle it how you want to handle it. So you can you can collect orders from everybody. You tally everything up so you know how much you need to order for each kind of chocolate. There's like, I don't know, 12 different types of bars to order. You submit that online and then it gets sent to your house and then you get it at home. You have to divvy up all the orders and then disperse them to the kids. Now with COVID, what I've decided how we should probably do it, unless whoever takes over handles it differently, was to distribute them at every benchmark. So you have 2 weeks to get your orders in. I collect everything, I tally it up, submit my orders, I get it back, I sort everything, and then bring it to the benchmark payment night where you can pick up your chocolate and make your payment. This way, I was having kids in and out of my house all the time during the week picking up chocolate. So it's a process, but Gertrude Hawk is really easy to work with, and you can set it up how you want. So you can make yourself as busy as you want, or make it as easy as you want for yourself. It's all volunteer. I guess, I don't know what else I can say about it. It's pretty simple. It's a $1 bar. But what we do with fundraising, in order to keep track, what you do need to do is I've created a spreadsheet, put all the kids' names in it, and what they've ordered, so we can keep track of how much they've sold and how much they've earned. And then I send that every few months to the treasurer, and she has a master tally of all the fundraising the kids have done. So we do need someone to do that, to keep track of everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's basically it.
Yeah, and if you are a parent who is interested in helping us out with that, all I could ask you to do is you can either email, and Maureen, can we put down your email address here?
Yeah, MOWU22 at verizon.net.
Okay.
Bob Wright did send out an email prior to the meeting with the board's information, as well as the current fundraisers also. So I don't know if it got to everybody, but whatever emails I collected from you, I sent out. I asked Bob to send out.
Yeah, and actually on that website, I have links to all of our current fundraisers that we are running. You just click on fundraising and you'll see a link. It'll take you to a Google Drive with all of the links of the current fundraisers we're doing. There were a couple other quick questions I wanted to address if you're not following the chat. Someone said, for a person who's going to be a freshman next year, will a trip like this ever happen again? Typically, our trips fall on a 4-year rotation. So students only have once in their high school career to be able to be on a music trip like this, unless they are someone like Othello, who is in orchestra as well as choir and could potentially be on 2 trips. So if you're in multiple performance ensembles like band, orchestra, and chorus, you could be on more than 1 trip, but only 1 choir trip every 4 years. Someone asked a question about tour jackets. Yes, we're going to get tour jackets, and it's going to be included in your cost, students. So there's not going to be an extra cost for that. So that's kind of a cool thing. Someone asked a question about spending money, if it's preferred traveler's checks or credit card or cash. We're going to look into that. I know in the past people have done both credit cards and cash. And credit cards give you the best exchange rate, because it gives you whatever the exchange rate is at that day. If it happens to be a better rate, you get a better rate. So we've done that before. We'll talk more about that kind of stuff as well. Is it possible to receive information about how much your child has already raised since last year? Megan, that would probably be a question for you. So to find out how much money a student has raised, to see what they were going to be able to put towards their trip. How would we go about that?
Just email me and I can figure it out per individual.
Yep. And once again, that's Megan Idell at yahoo.com.
Yes.
And I'll put that right now in the chat. So there's her email as well. So that's pretty much it at this point. I know a lot of and yes, all the fundraisers are on again at this point. So the script and everything. The only thing that we're trying to work out right now is the Gertrude Hawk's chocolate. And so we just have to wait a little bit until we can get someone who will be able to help to volunteer that from a parent perspective. Once we know about that and we can set that up and get that running, we'll let you know as soon as possible. So someone is like, are we planning to do an online semi-annual sale since Easter is already done the winter one? I'm not sure what we're going to do with that with regards to online annual sales. Right now, we're just trying to get something going right now that will help students be able to do their Gertrude Hawk's chocolates in a personal situation. But we'll let you know as we go with that one. So the other thing I just want to say is this, folks. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for hanging in there. I really appreciate it. I want you to know that for the parents of incoming freshmen or for the parents of current freshmen who have not experienced a trip like this before, I know that there is hesitation and there's concern because, you know, this may be the first time that your child is traveling on a plane or certainly traveling overseas internationally. And that is something that would make me very scared as well of my own child. But all I can say to you is this: between myself and Mrs. Gormley, we have done a number of these trips before. We know how they run. We know how to keep the students engaged, safe, and have a great time at the same time as well. And the students, they respond to us because we make sure they do. I'm not saying we instill the fear of God in them, but I am saying that we run a tight ship and we want to make sure that they understand. We will have many meetings leading up to this for the students to like the expectations and what's going to happen and how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. It's a really well-oiled ship, and it's one of my favorite things to look forward to. I don't sleep that entire year, but I will tell you that it's very rewarding. And all you need to do, as I said before, is check out some of the videos. And before you guys go, if you want to, I know this feels like this is absolutely like selfless publicity. But what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to send you a link to a playlist that I created of my the last trip that we were on, which was, as I said, England and Wales. And you'll get a chance just to see what we did. And sorry, just give me 1 minute here. I'm just loading them all up. So you get a chance to see what opportunities these students have had when they go on these trips. So just give me 1 second here. And,
Corey?
Yes.
Excuse me. Before I forget, for anybody that does reach out to get their fundraising total, what they have so far, I do not have the latest script spreadsheet.
Okay. So
I will give them what I have.
Gotcha.
So
Awesome.
Just so everyone knows that.
And someone is on here saying the last car trip to England was amazing. Thank you so much. And so here is the YouTube playlist link. I just put it in the chat to everyone. You'll see some of those videos are, they've just gone, oh, thank you. This is Jen Saddam. And okay, so Mrs. Saddam is going to update the script tonight. So we'll get that information out to you guys, for those of you who have been already doing fundraising. But check out that thing. And by the way, I can also tell you that we were in a Harry Styles documentary because of our trip to England. And Mrs. Gormley remembers that we visited Abbey Road and we took shots of the students crossing Abbey Road. And while we were there, Harry Styles was filming a documentary and his film crew was out there and they took shots of us. So we're in a Harry Styles documentary and it's actually in that, it's in that.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Pretty crazy.
That's awesome. How fun.
Yes, there's great stories of Rachel Bonner, who was a student on that trip, running down, screaming, saying that she's in a documentary for Harry Styles, and not even thinking about the fact that all of her friends and us were in it as well. She's like, "No, Mr. Axler, I'm in a Harry Styles documentary." I was like, "Yeah, well, so am I, and so is Mr. Simon and Mrs. Gormley and all these people." It's pretty cool. So I'm hoping that's in that link. If not, I can send you guys that one later. But it's actually really, really cool. So yeah. You never know who you're going to see and what experiences you have when you're on these trips. It's really unbelievable. Oh, I'm supposed to sing. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. There you go. You should know Mrs. Gormley is also a singer. She went to Westchester University for tuba and vocal performance, education, I should say. So she's also a singer, but you don't have to make her sing tonight, which is totally fine. With that, if anybody has a last-minute questions to put in the chat, please feel free to do so. If not, you can always reach out by emailing me at caxler@crsd.org, which I'm going to put right now in the chat. And please feel free to reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer, I will forward it to Mrs. Gormley or to KI, and they will provide you with the answer as soon as they can. But with that being said, thank you guys so much. You've been wonderful, and I'm really looking forward to a great trip in the spring of 2022. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you.